Everybody, this is Debo with Debo's Movie Reviews here, and today I'll be reviewing Superman, directed by Richard Donner, starring, of course, Christopher Reeve as Superman, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, Valerie Perrine as Eve Textmarker, Ned Beatty as Otis, along with Glenn Ford as Jonathan Kent, Marlon Brando as Jor-El, and of course, you got, hold on, Mark McClure as Jimmy Olsen, a bit part by Terrence Stamp, and the cast of the villains of Superman 2, because in this one they start off with them getting sent to the Phantom Zone. And of course, with the movie starting with the destruction of Krypton, and I gotta find it weird with Marlon Brando as Jor-El. I find it funny just about the fact that he had that hairpiece on, made him look like Charlie Rich. I'm surprised he didn't get Charlie Rich to do that role instead. But but then again, Mario Puzo wrote the movie, so there's that Godfather tie-in. Despite this being a Warner Bros. Movie instead of a Paramount movie like Godfather was. And of course, you got Jackie Cooper as Perry White, although I do believe Lane Smith was the best version of that role ever, but yeah. And then of course you got the whole origin thing with the destruction of Krypton, and which I kind of thought was a better take than the Cavill part. Although I do say Michael Shannon did give Terrence Stamp a run for his money as Zod, but overall I do believe Stamp kind of knocked it out of the park. Whereas Christopher Reeve did the perfect balance of Clark Kent and Superman. From his time when he's Clark, the mild mannered reporter, versus as Superman. And of course, Hackman, pretty much he was the most iconic Lex Luthor live action. Although I do am partial to Michael Rosenbaum. And Nicholas Holton, the one made last year, wasn't bad either. Whereas Margot Kidder was iconic Lois Lane, but I'm more of a Terry Hatcher fan, and on the case of Lex Luthor, I'd say Hackman is kind of on board with my top four, being Rosenbaum, Hackman, Holt, and Clancy Brown for best animated Lex, whereas Dana Delaney was the best animated Lois. And of course, Reeve was best Superman, but whereas Glenn Ford pretty much tied with old Bo Duke John Schneider, aka John Schneider, as Jonathan Kent, compared to Costner. Though I do want to say that was more of the writer's fault on that one, and whatever they were smoking. Just they have that version killed off in a storm compared to the heart attacks that took out the other versions, over to just stretch them out and keep them alive for a side character, because I do believe that the Kents made great side characters, especially in the animated series. Which in the animated series, Jonathan Kent was voiced by Mike Farrell, aka BJ Honeycutt from MASH. But Hackman, Oh, he always knocked it out of the park with his movies. I mean, kind of just surprising, especially after Superman turns him in. Kind of like even funnier scenes. Kind of like, kind of like, even kind of like that one scene in the where where Superman rescues to get the cat from the tree. He didn't even stay around to prove to tell the girl, find out it was dickish for him to not tell that, not stand around with that. Well, trying to say, didn't stand around to meet that girl's parents to tell her she ain't a liar, because that was just like dickish on that one. Funny but dickish. Whereas ever since Lois meets Clark, she becomes like the unlucky girl in the world because she's always getting in accidents and such from the encounter. And hell, what a even great casting from all around, from Brando as Jor-El in that little Charlie Rich get up and in the destruction of Krypton. All I'll do is say they could have used one from like the kind of like a missed opportunity to introduce Brainiac to that timeline, but given in the Reeve timeline, it was just always almost 3 out of the 4 movies was just Lex Luthor, because they didn't really get much justice out of the villain rogues gallery, because they know Superman has more than one, because he also has Metallo, although that was a creation of Lex, Brainiac, who destroyed Krypton, Toyman, among the overshared villain rogues gallery of Batman and Flash and such, and well, I do give Glenn Ford his due, because he's from his bit part in it, because he's practically on there as one of the more iconic Western actors. You know, Reed being someone who was perfectly cast as Superman, and of course with Hackman as Luthor. I mean, he was kind of like just an underground gangster who was in this timeline compared to that one. But I that one I give a great one, whereas this one I'm gonna go ahead and give this about a 4 out of 5. I might have given Man of Steel 5 out of 5, but yeah, I'm gonna might retract by saying where, in terms of Reeves' performance, from the perfect balance between Superman and Clark Kent, whereas Cavill was just like a good Superman but a terrible Clark Kent, and with Corn Sweat, I'll say what I say for when I get around to his movie. But overall, Superman definitely 4 out of 5, which with the appearance of Terrence Stamp and the villains of Superman 2, I feel like the first one was just a build up to the second one, which, trust me, I'll get around to that when I get time to do these reviews, continue doing these reviews and all. All right, y'all, that'll be do it for this week. I hope y'all like, subscribe, and enjoy, and I'll keep dishing them out.